This is the complete story of the hero of Tarot, interpreted through the experience and encounters of a young woman. This is not just an interpretation, but a living story of the heroine and the major arcana, which you can experience together with her, feeling her step into the unknown. First, seeing the Fool. The beginning of the path. Have you ever stood at a crossroads, feeling a pull towards the unknown? Picture this: a woman at the edge of a cliff, the wind whispering through her hair, the sun warming her shoulders. Behind her, a life she's ready to leave. Ahead, a mysterious, shimmering space. She holds a small bundle with just the essentials, a reminder of her past, but not enough to weigh her down. A small dog, her own intuition, playfully nips at her heels, a little voice of caution. But she isn't afraid. Her heart beats with the thrill of a new adventure. This isn't a leap into an abyss, but a step onto a fresh and written page. The sun isn't just light, it's a blessing, guiding her forward. This is the moment of birth, the first fearless step into a world of pure potential. The sun above her was not just light, it became a blessing, a golden sign from the heavens unfolding a new road before her. Its rays fell upon her shoulders like the hands of ancestors whispering to go, and so the first step into the unknown transformed into an allegory of birth. The abyss as the cradle of new life, the dog as the shadow of instincts that guard, and the sun as the seal of the heavens opening the way. The magician, the heroine and magic. After taking her first step into the unknown, she found herself walking a new path. It led her to a clearing where sunlight poured through the leaves, creating a glowing circle on the forest floor. In the center stood a table. On it, 4 objects waited: a cup, a sword, a wand, and a coin. As she drew closer, she realized they weren't just objects. They were her. The cup was her heart, full of feeling. The sword, her sharp and honest word. The wand, her will, ready to spark creation. The coin, her connection to the earth. A figure in white and red stood before the table. One hand reached for the sky, the other for the ground. He was silent, but his message was clear. You already have everything you need. In that moment, she understood. Magic isn't something you find, it's something you awaken within yourself. Her path was no longer just a road to walk, but a canvas for her to paint. This was her first taste of true power. The magician remained silent, but his silence was louder than any words. His hands, one to the heavens, the other to the earth, were a bridge between worlds. And the heroine realized, magic is not an incantation, not a foreign force, but the ability to unite the celestial and the earthly within oneself. Her path was no longer just a road. It became a canvas on which she could paint her own story. Each object on the table was a color, each movement a brushstroke. Thus was born her first magic, not external, but internal, not to change the world, but to discover it within herself. The high priestess of the heroine and the priestess. The road led her to a temple hidden between 2 tall columns, one black, the other white. Together, they formed a gateway into a world of silence. The air here was dense, like a night's dream, and her footsteps sounded as if she walked not on stone, but on her own thoughts. Between the columns sat the high priestess, her face as calm as the moon. She held a scroll, but it remained closed, a reminder that knowledge reveals itself only when the time is right. In the profound silence, the heroine realized words were useless. This was a place to be read with the heart. The priestess's gaze was a doorway, and through it, the heroine understood. To continue her journey, she had to listen not to the world, but to her own soul. The columns weren't stone, they were symbols of light and darkness, knowledge and mystery. For the first time, she met her inner self and knew that true wisdom isn't about knowing, but about hearing. The empress, the heroine and the empress leaving the temple's quiet embrace, she stepped into a wide, vibrant valley. The land pulsed with life. Golden grains swayed in the fields, rivers flowed with a gentle calm, and the air was sweet with the scent of flowers and ripe fruit. It was as if nature itself was opening its arms to welcome her. There, on a throne woven from wreaths and living branches, sat the empress. Her face shone with a gentle light, her gaze as warm as the late summer sun. She held no weapon and demanded no allegiance, her power was in her giving. As the heroine approached, the earth beneath her softened. The empress smiled and offered her an apple, a symbol that the heroine, too, possessed the source of life, the power to create, nurture, and bring forth the new. She understood then that her path was not just about seeking, but about creating beauty. This wasn't the strength of struggle, but the strength of love and creation, an art of birthing beauty from her own heart. The emperor, the heroine, and the emperor. Leaving the valley's embrace behind, she ascended into the high stone mountains. The air grew crisp and clear, and every footstep sent an echo bouncing off the sheer cliffs. The world here was stark, no vibrant flowers, no gentle birdsong, just a profound silence that spoke of ancient strength and unwavering order. At the very summit, a throne carved from the mountain itself stood against the sky. On it sat the emperor, his presence as stern and unyielding as the rock around him. His gaze was direct, unwavering, and his hands rested on the armrests, as if holding the invisible laws of the universe in his grasp. She realized this was a realm of structure, where every stone had its place. The emperor didn't speak of love, but of order. He was a powerful reminder that true freedom requires boundaries, and every grand dream needs a solid foundation. His throne was the lesson: to build anything lasting, you must first have a base. She understood then that her journey required not just heart, but the strength to create her own structure, to find her own balance. 6th Scene V. The Hierophant, the heroine, and the Hierophant leaving the stern mountains behind, she walked into a city where temple bells echoed through the streets, calling everyone to gather. Stone steps, worn by time, led her to a pair of towering gates. As she stepped inside, a profound silence washed over her, a silence thick with anticipation. There, on a throne set between two massive pillars, sat the Hierophant. His robes of white and red seemed to glow in the soft light. His hands were raised in a gesture of blessing, and at his feet knelt two disciples, their heads bowed, listening to a wisdom that needed no words. In that moment, she understood she was no longer alone. This was a world of tradition, of knowledge passed down through generations. The Hierophant saw her not as a lone wanderer, but as a vital thread in a story centuries old. She realized her journey was never just her own, it was woven into the voices of all who came before and all who would follow. Her steps were echoes in an endless, beautiful tapestry. 7th Scene -6. The lovers, the heroine, and the choice of the heart leaving the temple behind. Our heroine found herself in a bright, sunlit meadow alive with the sound of birdsong. Before her stood two figures, a man and a woman, their hands almost touching but not quite. Above them, an angel spread its wings, a silent blessing upon their potential union. She stopped, realizing this was more than a simple meeting. It was a crossroads, a choice between the heart and the mind, between what seems right and what feels true. Looking at them, a question stirred within her own soul. Was she ready to trust in love? A force that could be both a guiding light and a profound challenge. This moment was about deciding whether to walk her path alone or to allow another to join her journey. The figures represented unity and solitude. The angels symbolized destiny's whisper. Love is always a choice, and it changes everything. The sun itself was a seal, shining only for those brave enough to open their hearts. This was her first true encounter with love, a power that could be an ally or a trial, and she understood. The true path always begins with a choice of the heart. 8th Scene -7. The Chariot, the heroine, and the chariot. The road carried her onward, and soon she entered a sunlit square. In the center stood a magnificent chariot, forged from dark metal and etched with symbols of the sun and moon. Before it sat two sphinxes, one black and one white, gazing in opposite directions, waiting. She knew this was more than just a vehicle. It was the embodiment of will, the power to steer opposing forces along a single path. As she stepped onto the chariot, invisible reins materialized in her hands. The city fell away behind her, and a vast road stretched ahead. The sphinxes began to move, the black pulling toward darkness, the white toward light. Her journey now depended entirely on her ability to maintain balance. She realized that for the first time, she was not just guiding a chariot, but her own inner strength. True victory isn't about choosing a side, but about mastering the opposition within. Forward movement is only possible when you become the center of balance. 9th Scene: Strength, the heroine and strength. Leaving the city's noise behind, she found a quiet garden, the air sweet with blooming flowers. Sunlight dappled through the leaves, painting everything in a soft, gentle light. And there, amidst the greenery, she saw him, a lion, his mane a cascade of gold, his eyes burning with a wild, untamed fire. A roar ripped through the air, shaking the very ground she stood on, yet she saw not anger, but a deep, trembling fear in his gaze. She walked towards him, her heart her only shield, with no weapon, just an open palm. She reached out and gently touched his head. The great beast shuddered but held his ground. A calm, gentle smile graced her lips, as if seeing not a predator, but a lost, frightened child. The roaring subsided, replaced by a profound silence. His wild strength yielded, not to force, but to tenderness. In that moment, she understood. The lion was not a monster to be slain, but a mirror to her own inner world, her passions, her fears, her doubts. Her smile was the key to harmony. True strength isn't about conquering others, it's about mastering yourself. And the greatest victory of all is the one you win over your own soul. 10th scene. The hermit, the heroine, and the hermit. The road led her ever higher, into the cold mountains where trees grew sparse and silence grew denser. The wind sang lonely songs, and each of her steps echoed against the rocky slopes. Here there were no cities, no gardens, only stone and sky. At the summit she saw a figure in a gray cloak. An old man stood leaning on a staff, holding a lantern in his hand. Its light was small, yet it cut through the darkness as though an entire truth lived within it. He did not call to her, did not instruct, did not bless. He simply stood, a sign that every soul must walk the path of solitude. The heroine came closer and felt his silence was a lesson. The lantern shone not for the world, but for those who seek themselves. She realized, sometimes one must stop and remain alone to hear one's own voice. And it is this silence that opens the door to true wisdom. The mountains were not stone, but mirrors of her solitude. The hermit's lantern was not light, but a key to the inner world. His figure was not a teacher, but a reminder true wisdom comes when one dares to remain alone with oneself. Thus the heroine discovered a new truth. Solitude is not emptiness, but a path to one's own light. Wheel of Fortune, the heroine and the Wheel of Fortune. After the solitude of the mountains, she found herself at a crossroads where the earth was adorned with a strange circle. It was not drawn by human hand, it glowed with its own light, as though the heavens themselves had placed it there. The wheel turned slowly, and at its edges she saw beings, a winged angel, an eagle, a lion, and a bull. They held books, but did not read them, they only watched as the wheel moved. The heroine stepped closer and felt that this wheel was not a mechanism, but time itself. It spun regardless of her wishes, and each turn transformed the world around her. In one moment she saw light and joy, in the next a shadow and trial. She understood her path would not always be straight. At times it would lift her upward, at times it would bring her down. Yet the wheel was not an enemy, it was a reminder that life moves, and every change is part of a greater story. The wheel was not an object, but the heart of the world. Its motion was not chance, but rhythm, reminding her everything changes, and no peak or fall lasts forever. The angel, eagle, lion, and bull were not creatures, but guardians of cycles, holding balance between heaven and earth. Thus the heroine discovered a new truth. Her journey was not only about choice and strength, but also about trust and change, for the wheel always turns. And each of its revolutions is a new page in her story. Justice, the heroine, and justice after the wheel that spun her fate, she entered a hall where silence and balance reigned. The stone walls were adorned with red draperies, and at the center sat a figure in austere garments. In her hands she held a sword and scales. The heroine felt that here there was no place for illusion or self-deception. Every word, every action was weighed upon invisible scales. The sword gleamed with cold light, ready to cut through falsehood, while the scales swayed, seeking balance between her past and her future. She understood. This hall was not a court, but a mirror. Here there was no punishment and no reward, only truth revealed as it is. And here she had to see herself without adornment, without masks, without fear. The scales were not metal, but her own heart, searching for balance between desire and duty. The sword was not a weapon, but the voice of truth, slicing through the fog of illusion. The hall was not a place of judgment, but a space where every soul meets itself. Thus the heroine discovered a new truth. Justice is not an external law, but an inner voice reminding her of the balance between who she was and who she strives to become. The hanged man, the heroine, and the hanged man. Her path led her into a quiet grove, where the trees stood like guardians and the air was dense and still. There she saw a strange figure, a man hanging upside down, bound to a branch, yet his face glowed with serenity. The heroine stopped. This was not punishment, nor suffering, it was a choice. The hanged man looked at the world from another angle, and his eyes shone as though he saw a truth hidden from those who walk the straight road. She felt that this image spoke without words. Sometimes one must pause, surrender to silence, and allow the world to turn upside down, for only then can a new meaning be revealed. Her heart filled with a strange calm. She realized, not every step is forward movement. Sometimes the greatest step is the pause that opens a new perspective. The hanged man was not a victim, but a mirror. His inverted world was a reminder that truth is often concealed in silence and in the ability to see things differently. His calm was not indifference, but wisdom born of acceptance. Thus the heroine discovered a new truth. Sometimes the path forward begins by allowing oneself to stop and see the world anew. Death, the heroine, and death, her path led her to a plain where the sun was already leaning toward the horizon. The air was dense and heavy, and the earth seemed frozen in anticipation. There she saw a rider in black armor. His horse was white, yet its steps resounded like the tolling of a bell. In his hands he held a banner with a white rose, a symbol not of an ending, but of a new beginning. Around the rider, old kings and warriors fell, but nearby stood a child who gazed at him without fear. The heroine understood. This was not death in the ordinary sense. It was a force that removes the old to make space for the new. She felt something within her heart begin to die: doubts, fears, old wounds, and at the same time, a new silence was born, pure and fresh. Like the first breath after a storm, the rider was not a destroyer, but a gardener, cutting away what had withered to give room for new blossoms. His white horse was not a symbol of death, but of the purity of transition. The white banner with the rose was not a sign of loss, but of rebirth. Thus the heroine discovered a truth: every ending is but a doorway leading to a new beginning, and true strength lies in accepting death as an ally, not an enemy. Scene: atmosphere, light, soft glow of dawn dissolving night into day, sound, a gentle murmur of the river, faint rustle of wings, feeling harmony, serenity. Unity of opposites, temperance, the heroine and temperance. After her encounter with death, she came to a place where the world seemed calm and balanced. Before her opened a garden with a clear river flowing slowly and evenly, like harmony itself. On the riverbank stood an angel in white garments with golden wings. In his hands were 2 cups, and he poured water from one into the other. The stream did not stop, did not spill, it was flawless, like a dance of equilibrium. The heroine watched this movement and felt her heart fill with silence. She understood. Strength does not always lie in extremes. Sometimes it is born in the ability to unite opposites, fire and water, day and night, action and stillness. The angel did not speak, but his gestures were a silent lesson. Life is the art of balance, and only those who can blend different currents find true harmony. The 2 cups were not vessels, but symbols of 2 forces that always strive to separate, yet their flow in the angel's hands showed true wisdom lies in union. The river was not water, but time itself, flowing evenly when the heart finds balance. Thus the heroine discovered a truth: the path does not always lead through battles or losses. Sometimes it reveals the art of harmony, where every opposition becomes part of a single whole. The tower of the heroine and the tower, her path led her to a tall stone tower rising into the sky, a symbol of steadfastness. But suddenly the sky split with lightning. Fire struck the summit, and the stone began to crack. People inside screamed as they fell from the heights, and the tower itself swayed like a tree in a storm. The heroine stood and watched as what seemed eternal crumbled. Her heart tightened with fear, yet at the same time she felt a strange relief. For this tower was not only stone, it was a symbol of old illusions, pride, and confidence in the unshakable. When the walls collapsed, only emptiness and dust remained. And in that emptiness she saw a new space, a place where something different, something true, could be built. The tower was not a structure, but a symbol of illusions that seemed immovable. The lightning was not mere force of nature, but the voice of truth destroying falsehood. The fall was not tragedy, but purification. Thus the heroine discovered a truth: sometimes the old must be destroyed so that the new may be born. And true freedom comes when we release what no longer serves us. The towers were not stone, but gateways into the inner world, where every shadow becomes a lesson. Thus the heroine discovered a truth: sometimes the path leads through illusions, and only intuition can become the light in the darkness. The star of the heroine and the star after the destruction of the tower, she found herself in a night field where silence was pure. Like a new page, the sky unfolded above her as a boundless canvas. And in the darkness shone one great star, surrounded by smaller ones. Its light was gentle yet steady, like a promise that never fades. By the river stood a woman with pitchers. She poured water, one part into the river, the other onto the earth. Her movements were calm, harmonious, like a prayer without words. The heroine watched and felt her heart fill with hope. After the storm and the ruin, she felt for the first time that the world could be tender. The star shone not to show the way, but to remind her even in darkness there is always a light that leads forward. The star was not a celestial body, but a symbol of faith and renewal. Its light reminded her, after destruction always comes a new beginning. The water flowing onto the earth and into the river was not mere motion, it was the unity between past and future, between what has been and what is yet to be born. Thus the heroine discovered a truth: true strength is hope, which shines even when all around seems dark. The moon, the heroine and the moon, and after the light of the star. She stepped onto a road that led through a nocturnal landscape. Above her hung the great moon, its light cold and spectral, like the reflection of another reality. Shadows danced around her, and each step felt uncertain. To her left stood a wolf. To her right a dog. One howled into the darkness. The other looked at her with trust. They were the two voices of her soul, instinct and consciousness, fear and protection. Before her rose two towers, like gates into the unknown. Between them flowed a river leading into the depths, where the moonlight reflected, creating the illusion of infinity. The heroine felt this place was not about truth, but about shadows. Here she had to learn to move forward, even when the path was hidden, even when the light revealed only part of the truth. The moon was not a celestial body, but a symbol of illusions that conceal reality. The wolf and the dog were not animals, but two forces within her heart: wild fear and faithful trust. The towers were not stone, but gateways into the inner world, where every shadow becomes a lesson. Thus the heroine discovered a truth: sometimes the path leads through illusions, and only intuition can become the light in the darkness. After the light of the star, she stepped onto a road that led through a nocturnal landscape. Above her hung the great moon, its light cold and spectral, like the reflection of another reality. Shadows danced around her, and each step felt uncertain. To her left stood a wolf, to her right a dog. One howled into the darkness, the other looked at her with trust. They were the two voices of her soul, instinct and consciousness, fear and protection. Before her rose two towers, like gates into the unknown. Between them flowed a river leading into the depths, where the moonlight reflected, creating the illusion of infinity. The heroine felt this place was not about truth, but about shadows. Here she had to learn to move forward, even when the path was hidden, even when the light revealed only part of the truth. The moon was not a celestial body, but a symbol of illusions that conceal reality. The wolf and the dog were not animals, but two forces within her heart: wild fear and faithful trust. The sun, the heroine, and the sun after the ghostly shadows of the moon. She stepped into a wide meadow bathed in light. The sun shone high in the sky, its rays warm and alive, like the embrace of the world. The air was filled with joy, and each breath felt like a celebration. Upon a white horse sat a child holding a red banner. Her laughter rang pure and bright, like the music of new life. Around her bloomed sunflowers, their golden heads stretching toward the light, as though the world itself rejoiced with her. The heroine felt that all fears and illusions were left behind. Here there were no shadows, only clarity. The sun did not question or test, it simply gave light. Revealing the truth: life can be simple and happy. The sun was not a celestial body, but a symbol of truth and joy. The child on the horse was not a character, but an image of purity and new beginnings. The sunflowers were not flowers, but voices of the world affirming, light always triumphs over darkness. Thus the heroine discovered a truth: after long shadows, clarity always comes, and true strength lies in the joy born of simplicity. Judgment for the heroine and judgment after the clarity of the sun. She heard the sound of a trumpet echoing through the heavens. The voice was powerful and pure, like a call that could not be ignored. The earth beneath her feet trembled, and she saw people rising from their tombs, stretching their hands toward the light. In the sky stood an angel with a golden trumpet. His music was not a song, but an awakening. The heroine felt that this sound spoke not to her ears, but to her soul. It called her to remember all that had been, and to accept all that is. She understood this was not judgment in the sense of punishment. It was a moment of truth, when every soul sees itself as it truly is. And here she had to decide: was she ready to be reborn, leaving her old life behind? The angel was not a judge, but the voice of awakening. The trumpet was not music, but a key that opened the door to new life. The people rising from the tombs were not the dead, but symbols of the old parts of the soul finally given a chance for renewal. Thus the heroine discovered a truth: true judgment is the moment when we ourselves decide who we wish to become. The world, the heroine and the world. After the call of judgment, she stepped onto a circle of light that opened before her like a gate into infinity. At its center shone a figure of a dancing woman, wrapped in a wreath of green laurel. Her movements were light and free, as the life itself was celebrating the completion of a great journey. Around the circle stood four beings: an angel, an eagle, a lion, and a bull. They gazed at her calmly, like guardians of the four corners of the world, acknowledging her path as complete. The heroine felt that all her trials, from the choice of the heart to the encounter with death and rebirth, had merged into a single harmony. Here there was no fear, no doubt. Only the sense of wholeness, when every part of her soul had found its place. She understood, the journey does not end, it transforms. For the world is not an ending, but a new beginning, where everything becomes one. The world was not a place, but a state of the soul. The laurel wreath was not an ornament, but a sign of victory over oneself. The dancing figure was not a woman, but an image of freedom that comes after a long road. Thus the heroine discovered the final truth: the true journey ends not with an ending, but with unity with the whole world. In conclusion about the cycle of spiritual life, life is a journey through cards, through symbols, through our own shadows and light. We begin as the seeker, taking the first step into the unknown, and we end as the creator, dancing in harmony with the world. Every encounter is a lesson. Every loss is a cleansing. Every joy is a reminder that the world always offers us new light. And even when we fall into darkness, we know there, a strength is born that carries us forward. Spiritual awakening is not an escape from the world, but its acceptance. It is the art of seeing beauty even in ruins, feeling harmony even in chaos, finding truth even in shadow. The full cycle of life is not a line, but a circle. We return to ourselves again and again, but each time transformed, deeper, wiser, brighter. And in this lies the true victory. For the world is the mirror of our soul. And when we open it with the heart, we reveal ourselves. Please like and subscribe to the channel.